Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anangsha Alammyan and I'm so excited to introduce you to this new amazing session that I'm starting. It's called Making It Big on Medium, and where I'm going to have conversations with some really good and talented people. Today's guest is Itxy Lopez, and if you are on Medium, there is absolutely no way you might have not heard of her because she writes such amazing articles and she's published on so many great publications. And this conversation we're going to have today, I'm going to discuss with Itxy, and we're going to talk about writing, publishing, and how we can make it big on Medium. So let me welcome Itxy to the stream.
Hi, you flatter me so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. When you asked, I was like kind of nervous, but I like doing these. I've done a few of them and I always mess up, but I like it.
It's great, really. It must be really early for you right now, right?
8 o'clock, not that bad, but this is actually the time I wake up.
Okay, that's really nice. I mean, I wake up really late. I think you know that, right? Because I have a very bad sleep cycle. I sleep really late. I wake up at 11 or something.
Oh my God. Yeah, every time I message you and it's late here and you're up, I'm like, what is she doing up?
I need to fix that. I'll work on it. Anyway, let's start this discussion. I wanted to ask you about, like, you have been writing on Medium for almost 2 years, right? You also have a website and you have a newsletter. So I just wanted to ask you, that has writing always been the way you have been expressing your creativity?
Mm, actually, so I don't have a website right now, but I started a blog right out of high school when I was 18. And honestly, it was mostly just something I did because I had nothing else to do and I didn't want to go to college. So my dad was like, why don't you start a blog? Because I was also really into self-improvement. So I was like, okay, I'll start a blog and then we'll just see what happens. But I actually had no interest in writing at all. Like, blogging was just a way for me to share stuff. So I didn't care if it was through like YouTube videos or writing. So I literally just did it just because. But then along the way, I actually realized I liked writing. And then, but it wasn't like fully like cemented like my love for writing until I started Medium, which was maybe about 3 years after I started the blog. So it took me like a whole 3 years to actually realize that I wanted to be and was a writer. Um, but before that, I think I didn't really have like I'm a huge music lover and I played instruments in all of high school. At one point, I wanted to be a web designer because I took a web design class in high school. So I don't know, writing wasn't really like my thing. It wasn't my passion, honestly, until maybe last year in like June when I started writing on Medium and I realized that I actually wanted to write for a living. And then, but also I wrote fan fiction for a while after high school, and that created like a love for writing fiction as well. So it all came. I don't want to say late because some people don't discover what they like until they're like 40 and I'm 22. But it definitely came like after high school and after I started. Like I didn't realize I liked writing until after I had started writing.
That's really amazing. You have so many different talents: web designing, playing music, making videos. That's really amazing. Do you still play? Like, what instruments did you play?
I played the violin for about 4 years. I loved it.
Wow.
And the saxophone, the alto sax, for about 6 months, just because it was something to do instead of taking an actual class in high school, I took band. So I played alto sax for 6 months and I fell in love with it so much. But afterward I had to let it go, obviously, because saxophones are really expensive and so are violins. But so I didn't play anything for a while, but I recently picked up the guitar like 2 weeks ago. So I'm practicing like an hour every day just so I can get back into music because I love playing instruments.
That's really, really amazing. I hope you learn the guitar soon and we can get to hear it maybe someday. There's a question I think many people want to know. Like, what does your writing process look like? How do you come up with ideas, and how frequently do you write? And how long does it take usually for you to write and edit? So, just give an overview about your writing process.
hmm So I used to have a writing routine, but I don't anymore. I used to like religiously wake up at 7 in the morning, sit down and write for at least an hour, and then I would edit for another hour, whatever I had written the day before. But that was mostly when I started because I was trying to publish as often as I could. And recently, I don't have a writing routine anymore. I have more like a writing ritual, which is a term I stole from Shonda Rhimes from her masterclass. And if you don't know who Shonda Rhimes is, she created Scandal and Grey's Anatomy. And so usually what I do is I just sit down and I have my free write, which is where I write because it's distraction free and I love the free write. And then I'll pop in these headphones, which are noise canceling because I live with a lot of people, so I need it. And I always listen to music. I don't care if the type of music I listen to depends on my mood, which affects the article that I write. So sometimes it'll be pop, like upbeat pop music. Sometimes it'll be slow acoustic music, and that definitely like affects what I write. Sometimes, obviously, like more melancholy music tends to lead toward more personal articles, or upbeat music tends to lead to like really motivating articles that I submit to like the Brave Writer and stuff like that. Um, and so right now I don't write articles every day. I do try to write as often as I can. Well, I write every day, just not articles, because I'm working on a novel and I love writing short stories. So every day I write no matter what. It's just not always for Medium. But when I do write for Medium, um, I always just get rid of all distractions. Like if I prefer to listen to music through my laptop instead of my phone because I'm not as distracted by my laptop as I am with my phone. So I leave my phone upstairs, I get on my free write and I write for an hour. And then I always wait a few days to get back to the article because I feel like it gives you a fresher perspective and you're able to like get more ideas through it, which is something that I hadn't realized or learned about until recently, is that when you leave an article after you've written it and just leave it for 2 to 3 days, you usually come back with more ideas to add to it, which is always really
Absolutely.
great. Yeah. And it works so well. And so after that, I take a long time editing because my drafts are terrible. I mean, my first drafts are a mess. So I typically rewrite basically the entire article. I just try to really make like the big idea come out. And first I go through and rewrite, and that takes me 1 to maybe like 1.5 hours. And then after and in that session, I'll also add research, or I'll find quotes to make it seem more like backed up, with evidence and whatnot. And after that, I do a final read through, which takes me like 20 minutes. I either I read it out loud, or if there are people around, because like I said, I live with a lot of people, so usually I don't tend to do this, but I love reading out loud. It works really well. But if I can't do that, I have Siri read it back to me through my headphones, and that way it's got such a monotone voice that it's hard to not catch mistakes. So usually the final round is all just about like superficial stuff like grammar and spelling and whatnot. And then depending on when I want to publish, I'll send it to my mastermind group, which you're in, of course. And I mean, to anyone who isn't in a mastermind, it's fantastic. Like I've received feedback that I just would have never thought of, like changes that I would have never thought of making myself. And I think that has been a big game changer. I think that's what, like last month, I had my highest earnings, and I genuinely think it was because of a bunch of the feedback that I received from my mastermind. So that's usually my process, just writing, editing, and then a final round of editing with Siri or reading out loud, send it to my mastermind. And once it's ready, I submit it or self-publish it.
I can totally relate to that because even I tend to read out my articles loud. Otherwise, I just can't see my mistakes. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you have to write A N D N and you end up writing A N. So it just happens. And sometimes reading out loud can definitely help you. So only when I sit down to write, I have this idea. I already write the idea and I know what I'm going to write. And then I just flesh out the article as I go. And I just write the first draft and then I add research in the end, like in the second read through. I do that. So what about you? Like when you sit down to write, do you know what you're going to write or do you just let it flow?
Hmm. I'm definitely more of, so I have this habit of which I got from IODG Awosika, and I write down 10 headlines every day, or ideas, and sometimes I
I do the
do.
same thing.
Yeah, I've read about it. And so I'll sit. I'll usually take one of those ideas, um, and just sit down and start writing. I don't like outlining. It doesn't, well, it's not that I don't like it. I wish I like it. I wish I could outline, but it doesn't work for me because I don't get the ideas unless I actually start writing. So if I write an article called like five five ways to write more articles, I don't know what I'm going to write. I just start with an introduction that always ends up changing once I edit, and then I go from there. It's really just a matter of what happens as I write. So I don't outline because it just doesn't work for me.
Okay, so we have a comment from Dipanshu Rawat. He's saying, "Hello, Itzy, big fan, love your posts."
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice.
We have another comment from Collective Mind. They are asking, "Hello from Germany. How did you find your mastermind group? It sounds really nice." Well, actually, Itzy and me, we are in the same mastermind group. And if you don't know the concept of a mastermind group, it's basically like a bunch of people who have same goals and who have comparable skills. And you just end up editing each other's article. You read each other's article and you give each other the feedback. And I found it because Itzy asked me to, and
Yeah.
it was totally her idea that we should start on. So if you are wondering where you can find the mastermind group, I think it's better if you reach out to your friends who have similar goals, right? What
Yeah.
would you say? Like if somebody wants to find a mastermind group, how
Mhm.
should they go?
So what I did was, um, because I'm in a Facebook group, that it's my Facebook group. And what I did was I just reached out to people either that I saw often in the Facebook group who I saw were doing really well. I saw that they published like all the time and they were super dedicated. And then I read a bunch of their work. And if I realized that I could connect to it and that like maybe we had something in common, Anna said, like we do have same like goals. Um, you just want to keep in mind that I think the most important thing when finding a mastermind is reaching out to people who are taking it seriously. I didn't want to reach out to someone with even a few, even like less than two. I made sure to reach out to people with more than 1,000 followers or so, not because I think they're better or anything. I just knew that if they have that many followers, it's because they've been writing on it for a while. So you want to find people who are either in the same level as you or taking it as seriously as you. And so all of the members that I reached out to, they're all, I mean, they're like killing it. They're like super badass in writing. They write all the time. So I knew that I would be able to connect with them. So I literally just read the people whose work you read on Medium. You can find them on Twitter or I'm sure in Facebook groups. Just look them up and add them as friends. And I just asked. I even the people that I had never spoken to, Max Phillips, for example, I hadn't even talked to him before. He actually reached out in an article that I wrote, and he said, "Hey, like I'm interested in joining the mastermind." So I reached out to him, and I was like, "You know what? Like I love your writing, so like please join." Siri too. I've never read her work, if I'm honest. But then I found her and I read it, and I saw that she was doing really well, and she has like really great writing skills. And so even though we've never spoken, I messaged her and I was like, "Hey, I'm starting a mastermind, we're gonna edit each other's work and stuff. And I was wondering if you wanted to join." Like literally just, it doesn't matter if you've never spoken to these people, just ask and say, "Hey, do you want to join a mastermind? We can support each other. I like your works." It's really simple. You don't have to be scared. They might reject you. It doesn't matter. Just, you can ask anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, after I joined this group, I feel my writing has improved so much because I get all these comments which I would have totally missed out otherwise, like not just spelling errors, but structuring errors and so many other different things. Like, and articles, they just become better when you have different pair of eyes looking at them. And
Mm-hmm.
also when you are editing other people's articles, you also get to learn a lot, like the way this person structures an article and the kind of mistakes they can make and what you should learn from them. So it
Yeah.
definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, it's a game
So
changer for sure.
totally. So we have another question from Lena. Lena is from Jordan. She's asking, I want to ask the beginner, like how should a non-native English speaker go about writing in English? Well, I am not a native English speaker. What about you? Is English your first language?
Technically, Spanish is my first language, uh, but because I've lived here in like San Diego in the US my whole life, I feel like my Spanish has actually gotten worse. So this isn't
Okay.
something that I struggle with. So I don't think I can personally give any advice because I feel like, yeah, it's just not, I never struggled with it because I went to like kindergarten here in the US and my whole life. So, but maybe you, like you said, if you can offer advice.
Right. See, so I am from India and my first language is Assamese. It's not, English is my third language. I learned English only when I joined school. So I think the way you can improve English is when you interact a lot with the language, as in you read books or you watch some TV shows or movies that are there in English. And when you read, you just don't do it mindlessly. You consume the content mindfully. And then you can try and understand how the people are speaking and what are the kind of how do they do the sentence construction and how they use the verb. So it's basically you interact with the language and you try to imbibe whatever you learn. So maybe that is one thing I would say. And basically read a lot. That definitely helps. Reading never goes to waste. Okay, so Itzi, I have a very interesting question for you. So, how did Medium change you as a writer, or maybe some skills that you learned because of writing on Medium?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing is, so when I used to write for my personal blog before Medium, I feel like my stories were well, it wasn't stories. It was more like content. Like it wasn't personal. Other than the fact that it was bad writing, like it wasn't personal. Everything was just cliche and had already been stated, mostly because I based my work off of books that I'd read, and I didn't realize I was doing it, but now that I think back, it was mostly just a retelling of those books. So when I joined Medium, I love reading on Medium. I think it's such a great platform, even if you're not a writer. um, I learned that you can actually tell stories, and they can be, even though they're about you, they can connect. You can make them so that they connect, so that other people can connect to them. And so I think that was the biggest thing that Medium taught me, was that you can tell stories, but also, I think that the way people write on Medium is so clean and organized. Like it's just like introduction, and then you tell a personal story that a reader can connect to, and then you have your points, or however, it's laid out, and everything is either backed up with research or backed up with personal evidence. Uh, so it just makes for an interesting read. And I think that reading other people's work specifically, especially if you're new, but even if you've been writing for a while, just reading other people's work can open your eyes to what is possible. Like there's this author, Sergey Faldin, I think it's pronounced. He writes really great pieces. They're not your typical. He doesn't write like listicles. His stories are really personal, but they're also really deep, and the way he formats it is not your typical way. It's literally just like paragraph after paragraph, maybe with like little headlines to or headings to separate it, but it's not like your typical like number one, number two. But you don't realize what you can do unless you expose yourself to other people's work. So if you want to figure out how else to format your articles or tell stories, or like I said in the mastermind, like um there's this member Ava, and she's really good at titles. I think she's like amazing at it. And so just reading her
True.
work and studying, yeah, studying it, just opens my eyes to what else I can do. Because headlines, for example, that's not my strength. Even after a year and a half, like I can't write headlines. But just reading other people's, like, it lets me know, like, oh, like I can do this. So like no matter what, no matter how long you've been writing on Medium, you should be reading other people's work so you can learn from it. I think it's really like one of the smartest things you can do.
Definitely. I mean, and I agree about that part, like about Eva, because she has helped me a lot
Oh,
in
you're
my
freezing on
headlines
me.
also. Right. And okay, I hope I'm not freezing now.
Okay, you're unfrozen now.
Okay. What I was saying is that, yeah, like before Medium, I just used to write whatever came to my head, like,
You're
okay,
freezing again.
okay.
I can't hear
Uh,
you.
okay. So let me try something else.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it should be better now. And I'll close everything else. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear. You were like freezing. I can't hear anything.
Okay, just let me. Hi, I'm back.
Okay, it's good now.
Okay, so yeah, like before Medium, I just used to write whatever came to my mind. But one very important thing that I learned was that you need to back whatever you're saying with research. You just can't make claims if you don't have anything to prove it. That's something very important that I learned.
Mm,
And of course, like, you have to make your sentences tighter. You can't just use random words and ramble on. You need to add some value to every sentence. Yeah, because people tend to highlight. I don't think any other platform has this option where you can highlight parts of an article, right? So Medium made
mm-hmm.
me want to write sentences that people would like to highlight. So I think it made my writing stronger that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Uh-huh. I'll do the
Definitely.
same thing where I'm writing something, and then I realize that the sentence actually has a lot of potential. So I'll spend like 5 minutes trying to make it good so that people can highlight it.
I've done the same because it's very important to deliver as much value as you can with each sentence, right? Okay, so we have talked about writing. Let's talk about publications. So, what do you think is better? Like, is it better to stick to one or two publications, or is it better to, diversify and write in as many publications as you can?
um, I think personally, I stick to the same type of same publication. So I write for the Postgrad Survival Guide, Publicists, who else? The Brave Writer, and Mind Cafe when they accept me. um, because so I have like the honor of having coaching calls with IODG, and I actually asked him. I said, what do I do? First of all, should I stick to certain publications, and what do I do in, like, while I wait? Because publication wait time, especially now as Medium is growing and these publications grow, the wait time seems to be increasing. So what I did was I figured out how long these publications tend to take to respond back to you. So for example, Mind Cafe, this was when I was submitting to them often, they would take an average of 3 to 5 days. And I knew that Postgrad Survival Guide would get back to me typically the next day. It's so rare that they take 2 days to get back to you. So I organized it in that way, where I would submit something to my cafe, but while I was waiting for their response, I wrote another article and submitted it to Postgrad Survival Guide so that I knew that it would get published then. But I think the most important thing to remember is that so people typically set goals around publishing quantities. So say that you wanted to publish 15 articles this month. It's so easy to want to break it down to, okay, 3 articles per week or whatever, you know? But I think that what made me just kind of like slow down and be patient with like response time was realizing that even if I didn't publish, or even if an article that I submitted to a publication just didn't go out for 4 days and I wasn't on Medium for 4 days because nothing was being published, it didn't matter. Like, people aren't going to forget you if you don't publish for 3 or 4 days. If I remember one time I had like 5 articles submitted, but no one was getting back to me, and I didn't publish in 4 days, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, like this, like what am I doing? Like, I should be publishing every day and all this stuff. But then they all just went out and like nothing happened. Like, it doesn't matter if you have to wait, if you have 3 articles submitted and they don't publish until next week, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you publish those 15 articles by the end of the month, even if it's only 2 articles the first week, 1 article the next week, and all 5 the week after that, like, it doesn't matter. As long as you get all 15 by the end of the month, like, you're good. Like, you reached your goal. It doesn't matter that you don't publish every single day, because I used to be so frightened in the beginning. I used to read so much that if you didn't publish often, people were going to forget you. And that like scarred me. That made me want to publish all the time. But then I realized that if I didn't publish for a day or 2 or 3 or 4, like, nothing changed. Like, people, if your headline is enticing, if someone likes your work, they're not going to forget you. For example, there's this history writer. Her name is Caitlin, and she hasn't published that often. And even when she did, she didn't publish all the time. But because I love her writing and her stories, I have in high school I hated history. I don't read history stuff any other time, but she's a history writer, and somehow she's got me reading her stories. And it's like, even though she hasn't published in a while, or hadn't published in a while, like, I didn't forget her. You know, like, if someone loves your writing, they're not going to forget who you are, and they're gonna read you even if you don't publish in like a week.
I think that's very true, and that's something new writers struggle with a lot on Medium, because they tend to plan that they're going to publish these many articles in that week, and then they get impatient and they tend to pull out from the publications, right?
Mhm.
I also used to face the same fear that you mentioned, that the need to publish every
Yeah.
single day. Even till September, I was fearing that what would happen if I don't publish. But I think in October, I slowed down because I had submitted a lot of pieces, but none of them were getting published, and I was so frustrated. I thought I'll just wait. I won't pull these articles out. I'll just wait. And then I didn't publish anything for 7 days. And on 7th October, I had like 4 articles out in a day. That was crazy. My stats just spiked on that one day. But yeah, I think it's very important that when you plan, you should plan according to the wait time of the publication, and you can just for just to be safe, you can add 1 or 2 days, because they might take long. They are also people, right? After all, so
Yeah, that was a problem too. When I told
mm.
DG, I was like, but what if like 3 articles get published in one day? And he's like, it doesn't matter. And I was like, oh, okay, like, that's simple.
Actually, it doesn't matter, because what you said was very true. People who enjoy your work are not going to forget you if you don't publish for a few days. You just
Hmm.
have to deliver quality. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Uh,
quality matters more than quantity. I'm not for sure. Publishing often it helped me in the beginning, like grow as a writer, because I did publish every day for a few months, and I don't think it's bad. Like, if that's something you want to do, obviously, just, but I'm starting to understand that quality matters a lot more than quantity.
Definitely. So we have this question from Kesia Alexandra. She asked that how can you build relationships with publication owners if you frequently publish to a publication?
Oh God, I wish I had like tips, but it's just like I don't have anything that I do that is like on purpose. Like, it just happens by accident. For example, Publishes, the editor Nicole Ackers, I think it's pronounced. I love her. I think she's great. She's super
I
kind.
love her too. Yeah,
She's so
she's
nice.
amazing.
And she leaves such great edits and stuff. But so basically, um, like just submitting often itself, I think already creates a relationship. Um, so for example, with Nicole, like because she leaves feedback, I'm able to respond and like, and you know, it's like it's a conversation. Even though it's editing, it's a conversation. We talk back and forth, and it's just I feel like the relationship just builds by itself because you submit often. Uh, with Stephen Moore, who's the editor or one of the editors of Postgrad Survival Guide. I met him because I took Tom Kugler's course when I first started, and Stephen is in that Slack group. Technically, I met him through there, but the relationship was built because I submit to his publication often. And so I wish I had like actual tips to give you, but I think it's just something that naturally happens if you submit to a publication often because the editor will notice you. Like, you know, if you're there every week, the editor is bound to notice you and remember who you are and probably fall in love with you if they like your writing. So that's honestly all you have to do. Just submit to a publication often and a relationship will naturally build from there, I think.
Definitely, no, I agree with that because if you publish often, they are going to notice you, right? They're going to remember your name.
Hmm.
Yeah. Aside from that, maybe you can also when the publication owner or the editor they leave a note saying that yeah this goes up live today, then maybe you can reply to them and ask is there anything I need to improve in my writing that will make your job easier as an editor? And
Hmm.
so it just shows that you want to improve your willingness to improve, and it'll also help you connect with them better, I suppose.
Yeah, you
Right.
definitely want
So
to stay open because like as you're saying, editors are there to help. Sometimes it feels like they're the enemy because they're rejecting your work, but just be open to what they have to say and reply back like, okay, I made the changes or this is a good idea. Just be kind, like realize that they're trying to help you and just reply back to their comments instead of ignoring them or pulling out your article because you don't like something they said. Just be as kind as they're trying to be to you, and that's how
exactly.
you stand out.
Exactly, yeah. Always be considerate about because they are also putting in a lot of effort reading your article and leaving the note, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So, so we have a question from Lena. She is asking, do we need to write on the topics that we know, or should we focus on something that we don't have background on? So, what are your
Mm.
thoughts about this?
I damn. I typically write about topics that I know just because that is a really hard question. I typically tend to write about topics that I know. So I write a lot about self-improvement and writing, but I guess now and then I like to write about maybe like LGBT issues or feminist articles, which I may not be, even though I'm a part of the LGBT community and like I'm a feminist, like I may not be totally like knowledgeable about everything that has to do with it, and I will write about it. I just make sure that I read into, if you're going to write about stuff you don't necessarily know, just read into it a lot and make sure you're not accidentally giving information, the wrong information. Yesterday I was trying to write an article about these four books that I love and for your publication actually, Anna. Um, but then I realized as I was writing it that one of the books that I was trying to talk about, I didn't actually remember it that well. Like I was reading the summary and I was like, okay, no, I can't write about this. Like I'm not going to accidentally say something wrong about it. So if you're going to write about topics you don't really know about, just make sure you're not accidentally giving false information or that you're giving um, you know, just you also don't want to like you want to put yourself in a position where you at least have some, even if you can have just tap into like a little bit of experience that you have with it, because I'm assuming you're not writing literally like about a topic you know nothing about at all, but as long as you have some connection with it, then you can expand from there. I'm sure you can discover But like I said, I tend to write about stuff that I know or stuff that I'm going through, stuff that I'm discovering. That way it is more personal and I have something to pull from rather than not knowing what I'm doing.
Right, that's very important. And I think that whatever topic you're writing, it should be something that you feel passionate about as a writer.
Hmm.
Otherwise, if you don't feel passionate about what you're writing, it will show in your writing that you're just doing it for the sake of views or for the sake of claps. So
Yeah.
that never, the reader would know that you're not being honest. So I think honesty is important. And for that, you need to really, really feel about that topic. And of course, like you said, that research is important. If you don't know, if you're not 100% sure, it's better not to write about it, because this had
Yeah.
happened to me too. Like when I was writing a list of book recommendations, I know I wanted to include this book, but I didn't remember much about it. So the title was like 5 books you need to read, and I just made it to 4 because I could not write about the fifth book. So it's better if you don't write about it if you don't know like 100% sure about what you're writing,
Yeah. And if you catch
right?
yourself, like if you're in the middle of writing an article and you're trying to make a point and you realize, oh, actually, like I can't talk about this. I don't have enough experience or I don't know what I'm doing. You can just erase it and pull it out. You can save it for another article, learn more about it so you can write about it later. Like you don't have to completely get rid of it and forget it. You can touch on it later.
Exactly. Like just a few days back, I was writing an article about the shades of feminism, like how women in different like caste or society, like with a different upbringing, how the definition of feminism is different. So I thought it would be a great article, but then I realized I don't have enough information. Like I only know about the kind of feminism that's relevant to me. But
Hmm.
someone from a different social background might have a completely different idea, and I did not want to inadvertently hurt feelings. So
Mm.
I just thought that it's better not to write about it right now. Maybe I can
Yeah.
read some books later on and
Yeah,
then I can
exactly.
maybe write about it. So I just kept the draft safe until I'm knowledgeable enough to write about
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, see that's perfect. Like that works out fine.
Exactly. So Charmaine is saying hello. So happy to hear your voices. Thank you for
Hi.
being here. Okay, so I have another question. So, what do you think about newsletters or that call to action at the end of every article? Do you think every writer on Medium needs that?
Hmm. I think it depends on what your goal for Medium is. So if you're trying to actually like build and make a career as a writer, then I do think that subscribers matter, especially because right now my only focus is Medium. Like I have no interest in starting a personal blog or pitching like outside publications. And so what I'm doing is I'm building my audience with a newsletter. So that way when I do move to a personal blog, because I know it'll happen eventually, even if it's like 3 years down the line, I will already have that established like following, like they'll follow me to the personal website, if they really like my writing. So I think it's mostly like depending on your goals. I didn't have a newsletter for a long time because I didn't care about it, honestly, and I was going to do something that I didn't care to build or something that I didn't have time for. If you don't actually have the time to send newsletters, or you don't know um like what your goal is with them, like you don't really want to build a relationship like that with followers yet, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But if you do want to eventually move somewhere else, or you do want something more personal, then you can definitely build a newsletter. There's like a lot of, some people say yes, you absolutely have to, and some people say it doesn't matter. I'm one of the people who says it doesn't matter. So it's up to you really what your goals are.
Right. I also started building a newsletter in 2019, and sometimes it might happen that when you're writing on a platform, you're building an audience and who is very loyal to you. But sometimes the platform might change in such a way that you don't recognize it anymore. Like I
Mhm.
used to write on Quora a lot in 2014-15, and I had a audience. I had a sort of loyal audience, but then Quora changes its algorithm so much, I could no longer write there. And at that time I didn't have a newsletter, and there were many people who used to message me saying, why don't you write anymore? And I had to tell them that I'm still writing, just not on Quora. So actually you can't really predict the platform that you're writing on, because there might be a day that Medium suddenly ceases to exist, or maybe it just changes completely. So in that case a newsletter might be very handy, because these people who sign up, they have willingly given their email address just because they want to read more from you. So they are actually a very valuable audience, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll be interested in you even if Medium is not there, or any other
Mhm.
platform, whatever you're writing on, it's not there. So in that sense, it might be like very useful to a writer, right?
Yeah, a lot of the people that sign up to newsletters, like personally, I don't sign up to a newsletter unless I know that I actually care about this person's work. Or, for example, I'm on Anthony Moore's email list, and even though I don't read his work that much, I actually read a lot of his emails because I feel like his emails are really personal and have insights that his articles don't. So the people who sign up to your email list, yeah, some of them are just doing it for the freebie that you're offering them, and some of them are going to forget you, honestly, like they're not going to open your emails ever. But a lot of them are like, I have subscribers who consistently open my emails, and they reply to them, or they click the links, which is giving me reads on Medium. And that's just because like they're the true fans. And so you're going to have a lot of different subscribers, but you're also going to have people who actually really like your writing and like you too.
Definitely. Like if you have maybe like X number of subscribers, maybe 20% of them will open your emails, and maybe
Hmm.
10% would click on the links.
Yeah.
But even then, that's a like it's not a bad number, right? It always helps to have more reads and have people who want to read what you wrote.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. So whenever we are talking about Medium, it's actually impossible to not talk about money, right? So if there is a beginner who's listening to this, a beginner on Medium, what would you like to say to them, so that if somebody aims to make a living on Medium, what are some topics they should keep in mind? Not
Mm.
topics, anything, like any aspects they should keep in mind.
Yeah. God, there's so much. I feel like the most important thing to remember is that so Medium gives you immediate access to stats and numbers. You can see your views, your reads, whether or not you're curated, claps, like it's all right there for you to see. And so I'm not even going to say as a beginner because it's a struggle for everyone, no matter how long you've been writing on Medium. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and really let that define who you are as a writer, and let it hit your self-worth and self-esteem. But you have to like separate the two. Like the numbers can't matter, it can't affect how you write or your self-worth. um I think that, hold on, I had a thought and I'm losing it. What was I gonna say? Oh, right. I was gonna say that low numbers can easily make you feel really insecure. Seeing, for example, an article flop, even to this day, I tend to get an average of 100 reads per article, but sometimes an article flops and gets like 30 reads, and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me, and I feel so bad. I'm just like, I shouldn't have published this. Like I even considered deleting it. I don't, but I consider it. um, but then I'm just like, it's just one bad article. Like your career is not going to be, your career as a writer is not going to end because you have an article flop. Like I know it feels like the end of the world, but it's really not. The next article could easily get 100 reads again. um, and it can be so discouraging to the point where you consider giving up. But what you should do is set this rule where if you're feeling insecure or discouraged or low because of low stats, you have to agree that no matter what, you're never going to make a decision when you're feeling that low. Because obviously when you're feeling discouraged, that's when people quit, when they feel like quitting. So when you're in that state, just say, okay, like I'm going to close my laptop. I'm going to ignore the stats. I'm going to forget Medium for the rest of the night, and then see how I feel about this tomorrow morning. And the thing that happens is that tomorrow morning you feel stupid for how you felt yesterday. You're just like it ceases to matter, and you feel so much better. So never make a decision on how you're feeling. Like, never make a choice about your career when you're feeling down. Like, always wait for the next day, because by the next day you're gonna feel better. Like, you just do. It sleep helps. So just forget about it, and keep writing, because at the end of the day, like, the numbers, they're just stats. Like, it has nothing to do with you, and that's the most important thing. You should start learning right from the beginning, but also realize it later on, because it's not something. I don't think that it's something that you just stop struggling with. Like, I think that I'm always going to at some point feel discouraged, because the only reason that I have made it this far on Medium, it's been, I think, 15 months now. I have 2,700 followers, I think. And the only reason I've made it this far isn't because I'm a great writer or because I have special skills and no one else has. It's literally just because all those times that I wanted to quit, I didn't. And I just kept going. And that's what you just have to make the choice to keep going, no matter what the numbers say, no matter what the comments say, like, just keep going.
That's so important, because even I have felt this way. When you start thinking too much about not making money, you get so discouraged. So I think
Mhm.
at one point it's just better to stop thinking about stats and just focus on the writing, because that's what is going to happen in the end. Because yeah, that definitely. And okay, before we were talking about newsletters, and we had a question from Charmaine. She was asking any suggestions for newsletter, Mailchimp, Substack, or whatever. So I have this like one point that Mailchimp or MailerLite, they allow you to have an automated list, right? If you want to give a freebie, say a 5-day course or something, you can always automate it on Mailchimp or MailerLite. But Substack does not have the option of automating emails. You need to send each email on your own if you want to use Substack. But the benefit of Substack is that eventually you can move on to paid newsletters. Other platforms don't have this option where people pay to read your newsletter. But right now I'm not at that point where I can ask people to pay for my newsletters. But eventually, if you plan to monetize your emails, maybe Substack is a better option at that time. What do you think about this? Like, which platform?
I used MailChimp for a while because I think it's a really easy platform. And like you said, you can automate emails. So basically what that means is that if you have like your page where someone signs up to subscribe, right? And then from there
Mm.
they'll get an email automatically with the freebie, and then you can set up emails to send automatically. So the first day they'll get the freebie, and then the day after they'll get an email saying like what they can expect from you. And then the third day is like a final welcome email. Like, you can set that up through MailChimp. The only thing that I didn't like about MailChimp is that you can't have more than one freebie. Like, it only has to be one, and most people don't care about that, but I did, because most people just have one lead magnet that they have, or freebie that they have. So that might work for you. I think MailChimp is great. I think, like, it's a good place for people to start. But when I realized that I wanted to offer more free stuff and different stuff, I moved to ConvertKit, and I like ConvertKit a lot, but the free option you can't automate emails. So that means that when you sign up to get my freebie, you get it immediately, but then from there you don't get any other emails from me about like welcoming you, or the email with the freebie in it, or anything like that. So they both have pros and cons, but I honestly think they're both great. And ConvertKit, obviously, I could automate emails if I paid for it, but it's $30 a month, so I won't. But eventually I will. And obviously by then it will be 100% worth it. So they both have pros and cons. It's really up to you to decide. I haven't tried anything else.
I recently switched to Substack. I used to use Mailchimp, but then I found like Mailchimp has this limit of 2,000 people if you don't pay for this And I don't have 2,000 subscribers, but if one day when I have it, then maybe I would. And everybody was talking about Substack, that it's the new thing, it's the new platform, everybody should try it. I
Yeah.
wanted to try it, and I found the formatting very easy on Substack. Although you can't automate your stuff, but formatting and adding pictures is very easy compared to MailChimp. So that's why I moved to Substack recently. Okay, so we have a question from Michelle. She's asking, how many external sources per article would you both suggest? For example, 1500 word article,
I'm sorry, what's
like
the question? How many,
research. How
how
many
much
external
research?
sources? Yeah, like how many external sources?
Oh,
I think
that's a
it
good question.
depends, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think I have like a certain number, like it has to be like 10 articles. I need to back up this piece. It's really just a matter of if you're gonna make a claim, back it up. Like it doesn't so if you were to say, so say you have like a personal story that you're telling, and then you say a lot of people feel depressed because of social media. Like that's something that you're gonna have to link and back up with research. So just pay attention to what you're writing. Sometimes you'll write like you get dopamine hits from social media, which is something we all know by now. But that's still something that you want to back up with research. You just want to link because you don't want someone to like question it, because there are people who will question you. Um, so just pay attention, and if it's something that you realize has to be backed up, back it up. It doesn't matter if sometimes people will link like two sentences in a row. It doesn't matter. If you only have like three links, the amount of research you put doesn't matter, as long as you back up what needs to be backed up.
definitely. Like the first Mind Cafe piece that I wrote, I had so much research. Literally every sentence had a link. I have some. It's really hard work if you want to read so many pieces and then link them. It takes a lot of time. So
Yeah.
I toned it down after that. But yeah, sometimes some people even call you out on that. Like I had a Better Humans article, and I just wrote about my experience and I linked one item of research. And one person just commented saying that you did not read the whole paper. They were actually talking about like people of this age group, and you were
Oh
just
my god.
generalizing the whole term. And I was thinking, okay, it's a research paper, so I just read the abstract and the conclusion. I did not read the whole thing. So they were like, it's only valid for this age group. You can't generalize, you're doing wrong. And I
Oh
was
my
feeling
god.
very attacked.
I
So
can't
yeah,
believe there's people who click those links. That's why I do try to
seriously.
read as much as possible, especially if it's like a whole ass document. Like try to at least read a bunch, because there are those people who are gonna click it just to make sure that you're telling the truth, which is insane, but whatever. But yeah, what was I gonna say? That sometimes you're gonna bump into a lot of research that sounds really good, and you're gonna want to put all of it in it. But you have to pick the best one, the one that fits the most, because you don't want to have too much repeating information or research, because it's just gonna get repetitive. So if you find like a lot of it that's good, it's gonna hurt, but you're just gonna have to choose the best one.
Definitely. So we have another question from Kesia Alexandra. She's asking how to get accepted into medium-owned publications. My
Oh,
struggle with Forge. Never got a reply from Forge.
I have never been accepted to a Medium owned publication, so I wish I could give you advice, but I've tried. Um, I've tried maybe like 3 times, and it just doesn't work. I get rejected. So I'm sorry, but I don't. If you I have advice for, actually, you could get into Medium partnered publication. So I think that's still Mind Cafe, or like PS
As
I Love
yes,
You.
and
Uh-huh.
better marketing.
Yeah, better marketing too. So those ones. So Medium partner just means that your article, for example, will get curated for sure, because they have the control to do that. Um, and then Medium owned, they're very hard to get into. I'm still trying.
I have sent a pitch to Forge like 4 or 5 times, but never got a reply from them, no matter how hard I try. And I recently got one article accepted into Zora, but it has not yet been published. I just got a reply after 2 days, and they said they would like to publish it, but it has been around a week. But I did not get any more response from them. But I'm patient because I know
Mhm.
it takes time. So maybe another month or so. So yeah. Okay, so one last question, unless we have anything more from the audience. So, what do you think? What's your opinion on writing online versus starting a blog? As in writing on Medium versus having your own blog page. What do you think about that?
So, as I said, I did run a personal blog for about 3 years. Um, it is a lot harder because you have to find your own audience. Like there's it's really hard. Um, and Medium, there is an already existing audience. So even though you might not get, like 100 reads right away, at least you know that by getting into publications or publishing often in the beginning, people are going to find you much faster than they would with a personal blog. With a personal blog, or with my personal blog, I had I didn't have that many visitors. I think in the whole 3 years, I got like 3 comments, and then my
Okay.
email list had 32 subscribers the whole time. 32 subscribers. And then Medium happened, and all of a sudden I was making some money. People were reading my work. I'm at nearly 200 subscribers, and it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Medium. So you do have the advantage that Medium has an established audience, and you can uh, go even further by publishing in publications to reach their audience. And like some of them share the work on social media. um, and also when it comes to social media, um, I think it's easier to grow your following when you're a Medium writer because, for example, I had when did I start? I think I started like using my Twitter again just last year, and I was at 200 followers, which I'd always been at with my personal blog, and it was just stuck there. But then I started following people on Medium because every profile, if you can like link your Twitter to it, so I would go on people's Medium profiles and follow and click the little Twitter icon and follow them there, and they started following me back. And as I grew, people just started following me first, and like now I have 900 followers, and the majority of them are Medium writers. So I think that that's a big upside too, is that you can build your social media platform through Medium because, I mean, we're writers and we all have Twitters.
Definitely. And I think when you're on a personal blog, you need to do a lot of SEO and other tech
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
I
I hate
don't
it.
know anything about that. I have zero clue. So I think
If I'm
Medium is very helpful.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
I'm honest, I didn't like running a personal blog. Like I'm trying to avoid it as much as possible. I don't like it. It involves so much work I'm not willing to do.
same with me. And it's very hard formatting on WordPress, I believe. I used to have a personal blog like 5 years back, and I found it very hard formatting it. But Medium has this amazing options of formatting, adding pictures, so it makes the job easier.
Yeah, I love
Definitely.
writing on Medium. I honestly do. I think it's a really great platform. Like besides the existing audience, it's just there's so many talented writers. Um I subscribed to Medium in March, and I didn't do it for the writing. I actually didn't even know you could make money on Medium. I'd heard about Medium before, but I never paid it much attention. And I subscribed to it just to read articles because that's what I discovered. Shannon Ashley, Shanta Grimes, this author Jerry, I don't remember his last name. Um, and from there, I was like, whoa! I'm like, all these writers are so good at writing. So I literally only signed up to read their work. And then eventually, like, I found an article about how you can make money on Medium. I was like, what? You can make money? And these people were making like thousands of dollars a month. And so I joined, but like, I'm an actual fan of Medium. I think it's a great platform.
It's the same with me. I mean, my life has changed after Medium. I got to read so many amazing articles from such great writers. Otherwise, it's not very easy to find such quality content anywhere on the internet, right? It's always
Hmm.
propaganda or something else. They're trying to force you to buy something. But Medium is just people are just giving you information and ask nothing in return, right? That's so amazing. Uh, we have Chris Bailey saying he's a big fan of Tidbit Tuesdays. Keep writing, Itzy. Keep it going. Good to hear this talk.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that's all. I thought we would have a short discussion of 20 minutes, but it turned to almost 1 hour. And it was really great talking to you.
Thank
I
you
mean,
so much for having me.
it was just like a very interesting discussion, and the audience was really, really great. Thank you so much. You guys asked some amazing questions.
Yeah, you guys did. This is so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we have one last question from Michelle.
Okay.
She's asking, do you guys put a CTA at the bottom of your work on some stories to lead readers to your blog or newsletter? Okay, any advice for how to word it if you do?
Oh,
There is one person on Medium who has great advice on CTA. Their name is August Birch. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but
mhm.
also known as the Book Mechanic. They have a blog, a publication called the Book Mechanic. They have written some amazing ways on how you can word your CTA. I have learned a lot from their blogs. So that's my opinion on this. What
Yeah.
about you?
So for a while, I think. Oh, I had a freebie on a tracker for your articles. I don't have it anymore, but that's what I had. And I remember I had something long for the link, and I had, I think, if you want to track how many articles you write, then sign up to my email list here to get a free printable. I don't know, it's like very long. And I remember Shanta Grimes, she in a Facebook post, she told me, she was like, you can just write, here's a free medium tracker. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that's perfect. And if you look at people like IODG or August Birch, yeah, they usually have something really short, like here's a checklist for to figure out, you know, your passion. Like it's always just here is blah 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 to blah 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 or for blank. You know, it's really simple. It doesn't have to be long. And once I shortened it, I realized that more people were likely to click it because it's short, so short and sweet that it's hard to not click.
Definitely. Like, I'm still struggling because I don't really have a lead magnet right now. I just ask people to join. But I think it's better if you have a lead magnet, right? A freebie that you can offer so that
Hmm.
people who give their email IDs, they can get something in return. And then they can stick around if they enjoy your writing.
Yeah, and the freebie, like you don't have to overthink it. Um, Mostly, obviously you want to do a good job, you want to offer value with it. My freebie is, what is it? Oh, it's how to build a medium writing routine. So it's really simple. It's just a small like ebook with really big font so that it's like easily readable. And it's short, and it's just how to build a writing routine, how to schedule time for editing, and then how to create a publishing schedule. So it's really short. But you don't want to overthink it. If you're like a self-improvement writer, you can do a million things about confidence or self-improvement or just creativity or writing tips. It could be a short checklist. There was this YouTuber who I used to was subscribed to. Her name is Sunny Leonard Ducci. I don't know. But she had a checklist for starting a YouTube channel. Like it was literally just step one, create the channel, step two, and it was like 10 items, and it was so simple. Like you don't have to overthink it.
That really makes a lot of sense because obviously it's a freebie, so you can't really give them a 10,000 word book, right? It's just maybe
Oh no,
2,000
yeah.
words or
Don't
something
make it
like that.
long. Yeah. If you make it too long, no one's gonna read. Honestly, no one's gonna, like, very few people are probably gonna even read your freebie. I've signed up to so many email lists to get the freebie, and I never look at it.
The same for me. I always think I'm going to read it. I don't even
Yeah.
delete those emails. I just keep them and they end
It's
up
just
piling there.
pile.
Definitely, it happens a lot. So anyway, it's a like good way of building your audience. Maybe some people would read because whenever
Yeah.
I send out an email, I have like 5 to 10 people replying, and that 10 replies mean a lot. Then having like I don't know, maybe 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So I think that's all. And thank you, Itzy. Your answers were really great. I'm sure the audience found them very helpful.
Yes, you did a great job too. This is your first time doing a live too, but it was so fun. So thanks so much for having me. And thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Thank you, audience. You were really great.
Thanks.
Okay.